Hey guys and gals, my name is Eclepid, and I'm back here with Matt.
Hey there.
And we're ready to get back into more Umineko.
Yes, we are.
So, the strange letter that the witch had entrusted Mario with had wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Could you pick that up for me just for a second so I don't have to, commence shaking? Oh, I muted it. There we go. Maria had been repeatedly barraged with questions by Auntie Rosa and the other parents, and was now in the worst of tempers because no one would believe her. Ew, it was bad, Even when we kids tried to talk to her, she would just ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up over the gold, firing back and forth about distribution of the assets, and completely forgetting that we children even were there. Even though I'd already figured out that they'd been talking about this in the shadows, I'd never thought they'd be this blunt about it. At least to us kids, it was a considerable shock. From what we could overhear, all of our parents wanted as much money as possible, as soon as possible.
That sounds familiar.
As soon as possible, in all caps. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found. About advance payments and cash. It was so despicable, I couldn't bear to watch, even though one of them was my dad.
Rudolph.
It looks like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats, although no one had asked us to leave, and wanted to hang out somewhere apart from the parents.
What is that?
This is the Jessica accent. Grandfather. She's disillusioned with her parents.
I have a feeling that's going to increase as the series goes on.
俺の場合はクソ親父に幻滅しきってるからよ。これ以上評価の下がりようがないぜ。
そんなの私だって同じだぜ。しかし今夜のには呆れたぜ。心底は。
Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. I could realize from the depths of Jessica's shock.
未成年の君たちはご両親に養育してもらってるからわからないだろうけど、お金を得るというのは単純な綺麗事じゃないよ。未成年である今にそれを理解しろとは言わない。
Thanks, George. Lovely insight.
でもご両親なりに何かの努力をしていることだけは認めてあげてほしいな。
Are they though?
Looks like we know someone else who wants money. No.
Yeah.
やれやれ。ジョージの兄貴は人間ができてるぜ。
ジョージ兄さんは社会人になってバリバリ働いてるけどよ。金とか財産とかそういう話になったら、うちの親父たちみたいに強欲むき出しのハゲタカになれるってのかよ。
自分だけの話だったらそんなことはしたくないよ。でも家族や社員、部下やその家族の生活を背負ったら戦わなければならない時もあるかもしれない。
私はそんな戦い嫌だぜ。小さなの遺産がどうのこうのなんて話。
Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
もうこの話はやめようぜ。
What a wonderful idea, Battler. This is why we have you around.
じい様の隠し黄金がどうのこうの、財産だ遺産だって話は親たちの問題で俺たちの問題じゃないさ。
Exactly. Go help Mario find her rose.
僕も同感だよ。せめて気を利かせて親たちの話し合いを邪魔しないのが子供の務めだと思うね。
なんだか面白くねえぜ。
Everyone knows the phrase adults are filthy. Do we? I don't know that phrase.
I haven't heard that one either.
But we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a shock.
Maybe it's a Japanese thing.
George Aniki was now pretty much an adult, and I'd already been disillusioned with my dad in the first place, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But it looks like that was different for Jessica. It looked like the shock that Jessica had received was even bigger than I had thought. This girl, she was always talking badly about her parents, but it looked like she hadn't changed at all on the inside since long ago. Even now, she was still a pure-hearted and delicate person who couldn't doubt others. I'm sure she still respected her parents as much as anyone else does. And then her parents started joining in with all the other parents right in front of us children, going, money, 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 money. So it was no surprise that the shock of hearing that was so big.
ジェシカちゃん、どうかお父さんとお母さんのことを嫌いにならないで。理解しろとまでは言わないから、せめてどうか嫌いにならないであげて。
わかってるよ。少し放っておいてくれよ。
This Annie, Chief. 6 years ago, I would have further taunted the dejected Jessica. But even I had grown up over the past 6 years. I realized it would be better to leave Jessica as she was right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be left alone for now. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
そういえばマリアちゃんはどこに行ったんだろう。
多分まだ肖像画の前でいじけてるんだろうぜ。
Maria, who truly looked up to witches, had expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would be an event that would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity, had not taken Maria's story at face value, and had thoroughly bombarded her with questions. Even I didn't find it hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. We couldn't speak to either Maria or Jessica. In the end, George Aniki and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of falling rain in the dark night.
台風はどんな感じなんだろうね。ニュースをやってないかな。
George Aniki walked over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. So I didn't go over to the television, but instead loitered around the window.
そんなに風は出てなさそうだけど、海の上はひどいのかしらね。天気予報では暴風警報も聞いてたんだけど。
キリエさんか。大人たちの積もる話は。
It looked like she had caught the sarcasm. Kyrie shrugged.
この胃の痛くなる話は徹夜で続くのかしら。嫌になるわ。
まあ、せいぜいよろしく。じい様の財産分配について、ハゲタカごっこをお楽しみくださいってんだ。最低の気分だぜ。
それに関しては同感よ。バトラ君みたいに席が外せるなら、私もそうしたいわ。でもそうもいかない。たとえ発言権がなくてもね。パートナーも大変よ。
Kyrie-san sighed, smiling bitterly. Well, yeah. I probably won't let Kyrie-san, who married into the family, speak. Still, as Dad's partner, she has no choice but to stay by his side and support him. Being in the line of fire, she must be having to bear far greater mental pressure than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I had spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being.
どんな感じなんですか？相変わらず謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの話題で持ちきりですか？
まあね。あの人たちはおじい様が亡くなった時の遺産分配について兄弟4人で話をまとめようとずっと密約を重ねてきた。そこへ未知の5人目が現れて話をややこしくしようっていうんだから穏便な話のわけもないわ。互いを罵り合ったりかと思えば共闘しようってことになったり夏日姉さんでなくても頭痛がしてくるところよ。
On one hand, they all wanted a larger portion of their siblings, so they were all rivals, but on the other hand, they didn't want one yen to be snatched up by anyone other than the siblings, so they were also all allies. I couldn't get her to tell me the details, but they were apparently arguing on and on about their ceasefire agreement and rules to prevent anyone from getting ahead, the situations under which their portions would be protected, and what legal measures would be taken in a worst-case scenario. By this point, my emotions had shot straight past disgust, and now I perceived them as a force to be reckoned with.
ってことは、ベアトリーチェはじい様からの資格ってとこですかね。自分抜きで遺産の分配なんて話を勝手に進めてた息子たちに。
何者かしらね、ベアトリーチェって。自称してることが全て本当なら、今日まで誰にも知られずにいた謎の人物で、しかもおじい様の隠し黄金の存在を知っていて、その上当主の指輪まで委ねられている。相当に信頼された人物ね。
さすがにほうきにまたがった魔女だとは思わないっすけど、でも魔女と呼ぶに値する怪人物であることは間違いないっすね。
Cue the sound of glass shattering and a witch flying in her room, cackling.
Yeah, seriously.
マリアちゃんがそのあたりのことを詳しく話してくれればいいのだけど、みんな小さい子にがっつきすぎだわ。すっかり怯えてしまって、聞けるものも聞けなくなってしまった。あの人たち、北風と太陽とか読んだことないのかしら。
The North Wind and the Sun? Isn't that... I'm looking this up quick. I think that's some anime that was a manga.
Really?
I think.
Well, it would have to be an older...
No, I was wrong. I'm stupid. I'm really stupid. It's one of the Aesop's fables. The moral it teaches about the superiority of persuasion over force has made the story widely known. Let's see. The story concerns a competition between the North Wind and the Sun to decide which is the stronger of the two. The challenge was to make a passing traveler remove his cloak. However hard the North Wind blew, the traveler only wrapped his cloak tighter to keep warm, but when the sun shone, the traveler was overcome with heat and soon took his cloak off. Interesting.
確かなのはマリアがベアトリーチェと名乗る人物から手紙を受け取ったこと。自分で現れて直接話せばいいものも、手紙を託して今もどこかに身を潜めているっていうシャイな怪人物ですけどね。
ねえ、
Whoa,
バ
whoa,
トラ
whoa.
君、
Where's the he?
ベアトリーチェなんて人物
I
が
guess so.
Things
本
are
当にいる
changing,
と思う
man.
さあ、あくまでも偽名じゃないっすかね。じい様の代理人としてその妄想の中の魔女の名を名乗ることを許された。
そうじゃなくて、
I don't think we've heard this before.
No, this is a new one.
今この六軒島には全部で18人いるの。19人目が存在すると思う？
I love this soundtrack. This soundtrack is so good. Are you looking up stupefaction?
I am.
I have no idea what it means. It sounds like stupefy. Like,
Right, like being in the state of being stupefied. There it is.
yeah. There we
So-
go.
Interesting.
Do you think there's a 19th person?
I don't know.
Are there really a whole 18 people on this island? Wondering about that, I counted on my fingers, and it really did come out to 18 people.
19人目が存在すると思うって。
Beatrice.
No. 18
どういう
without
意味ですか？
Beatrice.
Right, so 19.
言葉
with
通
her.
りの意味よ。マリアちゃんに傘を貸した人物は私たち18人の中にはいないらしい。
There's actually only one person on the island. It's Battler. Everybody else is a ghost.
This is all taking place inside of Battler's mind.
なら19人目がいて、その人物がマリアちゃんに傘を貸したと思うのが妥当じゃない？
Somebody out on the island.
まあ、そうなりますね。
Yeah?
ならその人物は今どこにいるの？少なくとも雨が降り出した瞬間には島にいた。
She must have been on the island.
そしてその後はどんどん天気が悪化して、とても船なんか出せない状態。
I'm sure she's just saying she because obviously Beatrice is a
Right.
woman's name.
となれば、その人物はまだ島の中にいて、私たち誰の目にも触れずね。
確かに。俺たちは屋敷やゲストハウスの中を勝手にうろつき回ってましたが、誰も19人目なんかには会ってないわけですよね。
Alright, there we go.
Nice. That's perfect.
でもまあ、これだけの広さのある島ですし、屋敷やゲストハウス以外に雨宿りできるところだってあるのかも。
About this time, I began to realize what direction Kyoto-san's scouts were taking us in. Kyoto-san was denying that a 19th person existed. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, she thought that someone we knew well was using her name.
ベアトリーチェが自称する通りなら、その人物は間違いなく最高の賓客よ。おじい様が信頼する最高の腹心。そんな人物をおじい様が歓待しないわけがない。お屋敷に迎え入れないわけはない。でも私たちは誰も見ていない。
It didn't even occur to me that one of the people in the mansion could be lying, saying that it wasn't them when it might have actually been them. You know? And Maria is a young, impressionable girl.
Yes. That is a possibility.
Huh. Guess we'll see.
Oh,
待
yeah.
ってくださいよ。それはちょいと請求な推理じゃないですか。確かに誰の目にも触れてはいないけれど、だからって19人目を否定することにはならないんじゃないですか。何かの理由があってこっそり上陸してずっと隠れているのかも。
Maybe Battler's playing the long con. Battler is Beatrice confirmed. No.
If he is, that is some serious shit. Like, he's a genius if he's setting all this up. He isn't, but
悪
if he
魔の
was.
証明ってやつっすよ。いることを証明するのはたやすい。ベアトリーチェってやつが俺たちの前に現れて挨拶すりゃ解決する。でも19人目がいないことを証明するのは不可能っすよ。
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't
バトラ
disprove
君の推理の
something.
仕方は悪くないわ。現在の状況では19人目の存在を認めるにも否定するにも情報が足りない。でもね、 チェス盤をひっくり返して考えると、ほぼ19人目はありえないって断言できちゃうのよ。
Two terms you'll be hearing a lot. Devil's proof is one, and flipping over the chessboard is another. So get acquainted with those terms.
Okay, in reference to Kinzo's chessboard and his game with Nanjo?
No, just Kyrie. Kyrie has a lot of
Phrases?
Her methodology is flipping over the chessboard.
Hmm.
Flipping over the chessboard was one of Kyrie-san's favorite phrases.
Okay.
I had also been influenced by those words and used them myself time to time. When you get stuck of trying to find a move in chess or shogi by flipping the board over and over, looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you can often see a strategy that would give you the upper hand. Derived from this, it means to think by putting yourself in your opponent's shoes.
いい？仮に19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェが実在したとして、その人物は誰にも知られることなくこっそりとこの島に上陸し、ずっと隠れていた。何かの理由があってね。ならどうしてわざわざ姿を現してマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したの？
It was really a contradiction. If they had some reason for hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time, but they appeared openly in front of
それ
Mario.
はほらマリアも言ってた。メッセンジャーにされたって言ってたじゃないですか。マリアが一番年下で素直そうだったからじゃ。
メッセンジャーなんて必要な？手紙を親族会議の席上に送りたかったら郵送すればいいだけの話よ。4人の兄弟全員に郵送すれば黙殺することもできない。手紙を持参してこっそり手渡す理由がないのよ。
確かになんだかおかしな話。
そもそもベアトリーチェが存在していて、その存在をアピールしたいならみんなの前に堂々と姿を現せばいいだけの話。
I'm going to quick check config and see if there's any way to slow down the text speed. Text box, no, type, oh, text speed. Slow down a little. Primal strength is always all the way up to strong. Type L, type N, type E, type T. Let's see what these are quick.
Sure.
Type T. Oh, transparent.
Interesting.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Type next.
Type V. That's not bad.
And then let's see. I'm guessing the next type is all solid. Yeah.
That's also not bad.
This is the original text box.
Didn't it used to have the text just on the screen, like scrolling down?
Oh yeah, the original game, yeah. But
Okay.
then when the original game with the patch has it kind of in that type of text box.
Okay,
So there's a patch for the original game,
gotcha.
and then this is how we've had it.
This is from the Umineko project,
Yeah,
right?
this is a Umineko project.
Yeah, I think I like this the best. Anyway.
なのに現れず、マリアちゃんという小さな子を通しておぼろげな輪郭だけでその存在を主張しようとする曖昧さ、矛盾。もっと考えて。マリアちゃんの前に姿を現し、今この瞬間も私たちの前に姿を現さず隠れ続けている点、これらの矛盾、これを念頭に置いた上でチェス盤をひっくり返すの。つまり19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェがいると印象づけたい人物の目論見は何かよ。
姿を隠したい人物ならその存在をアピールするわけがない。そして姿を現したい人物なら手紙を託すなんて遠回しをするってことは。
簡単よ。ベアトリーチェは18人の中にいるのよ。だからこそ18人以外の人物が存在するような幻想を作り出しているのよ。
Planting the seed of doubt in our heads, in our minds. What if Kyrie is what if she's Beatrice and she's
And
just
she's
saying
just
all
trying
this?
to
Yeah.
misdirect everyone away from her.
これ見よがしな19人目のアピール。
We
そ
can
れ
look
で
at
得をする
this
のは姿を潜めた
as
19人目
basically
じゃない。
every... Right now, at this point, since we don't know all that much,
Mhm.
kind of everything is a possibility.
Yes,
And that's the
Yes.
scary part about
Yes.
this.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
すでにいる18人の方なのよ。もちろんこの推理は穴だらけ。いくつかの前提がひっくり返るだけですぐに崩れる脆いものだけど、私はほぼ間違いないと見てるわ。
This was quickly starting to sound pretty creepy. Who had let Maria the umbrella and handed her the letter? All of the 18 had been ruled out, and yet Beatrice was hidden amongst those 18. What was that person planning? Hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice?
マリアちゃんの自作自演も疑ったんだけど、文章の内容が非常に手が込んでて、マリアちゃんが自前で用意したとは考えがたい。
Maria is in Before Maria is a channel for some ghost witch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting that the words that she said and the way she was saying them in a very mature tone and like...
It sounded like she was possessed, kinda.
Yeah, that's not... Either the whole ooh thing is a front by Maria, or
she could just be very serious when when she's talking about something she believes in, like witches.
I guess it's just so the shift is like too drastic for me.
That's true.
You know.
でもマリアちゃんが何者かと共謀している可能性も否定できないわ。
おいおい、マリアは9歳のお子様だぜ。誰と何を共謀するってんだよ。
With her mother, maybe.
しかも愚直で真面目で素直なあの性分だぜ。
ええ、私もマリアちゃんの性分はよく理解しているわ。でもだからこそあり得ると思うの。魔女に憧れ、その存在を盲信している夢見がちな少女。そこにベアトリーチェと名乗る人物が現れて魔女だと名乗ったら、彼女はそれを大喜びで鵜呑みにして信じるんじゃないかしら。
つまりあの肖像画のごついドレスを着て変装すればマリアを騙すことは無理。
その論法になっちゃうと私たち女性陣はみんな疑われちゃうことになるんだけどね。とにかくマリアちゃんが何者に出会ったのか、それの詳細を聞くことがこの謎を解く一番にして最も身近な鍵なのよ。
I'm gonna check something quick, just to see how much space I have left on my... Okay, cool, we have plenty of space. I wanted to make sure I didn't need to delete any old videos. Because we almost ran out of space one of the times that we were recording.
Oh, really?
We finished the session, I had like 4 gigabytes left on my... or 4 megabytes left on my hard drive.
4 megs. Oh, wow. That's
4
crazy.
megabytes. It was crazy, yeah, we cut it real close.
Jeez.
It was because all of the, when I was using Adobe Premiere Pro, when it saved like draft files, they were taking up a ton of space and they were like in the temp folder, but they weren't getting deleted. So it was
okay.
120 gigabytes of temp files
Jeez.
went through and deleted. I
That's
was wondering
insane.
like why my hard drive was all the way full. And
Yeah.
then I found out.
しかしその鍵は少女の心の奥に堅くなに閉ざされてしまったわ。みんなが頭ごなしに魔女の存在を否定し、一体その人物は誰なのかと問い詰めすぎた。マリアちゃんは当分大人には心を開かないでしょうね。
Here's my thinking.
Yeah.
Kankun is kind of feminine, you know?
Yeah.
Even though he's a dude.
Yeah.
And so I think he could also be a primary suspect
Okay.
in addition to the women.
Okay. I like the way you think.
And he also was in a situation that would make sense if he had seen her.
I like where you're thinking. I
You
do.
know?
I like where you're thinking. Could very well be a possibility.
Yeah.
You're not ruling out anything, and you're bringing up things that you think could be the case. And what's cool about this game is often there are like you really can't rule out anything. It's like real.
Anything is
I've
kind
seen
of
some shit, man. I've seen some shit.
Yeah.
Especially this in the Doom Hall in front of the portrait of Beatrice. Maria was sobbing. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
just the short little.
Yeah.
The first one.
マリアがベアトリーチェに会ったことを信じてくれない。
Oh, jeez.
ベアトリーチェがくれた手紙も見せたのに、それでも信じてくれないの。
Master, please take me to Satan. What, is she a drunk? Is she a drunk now?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hiccups are for there. I feel kind of sad for her though. She's like
とにかく鍵はマリアちゃんが
this
握っ
little
てるわ。
girl.
ベアトリーチェが18。
マリアは頑固だぜ。
Yeah.
あいつへそを曲げるとなかなか機嫌を直さないからな。
大人の私より子供のバトラ君の方が機嫌を直せる確率は高そうよ。彼女の機嫌が直ったら聞いてみて。遺産分配がどうのこうのって話には関心ないけど、こんな王道洋館ミステリーみたいなシチュエーションにはワクワクしちゃわない？マリアちゃんに手紙を渡した人物は一体誰なのか知的好奇心がうずくわ。
うんざりするような金の話に付き合わされてもワクワクとは実にタフなことだぜ。大人はすげえや。
I shrugged, exasperated, but I had realized she had noticed the dejection I was feeling because I had overheard our parents' turbulent discussion and was probably trying to turn my mood around. She at least managed to make me feel good enough to hurl abuse. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mom, but it did make me think she's a real doll.
おうガキども、ここにいたのか。キリエも長え化粧直しじゃねえか。俺も次からは化粧をしてくることにするぜ。
ごめんなさい、女の化粧は長いのよ。どう？兄弟水入らずの話し合いは。
さぞや和気あいあいとしてるだろうよ。
Kyoto-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow.
一度頭を冷やそうってことで小休止さ。こりゃ夜通しになりそうだ。泣けてくれ。
His way of talking hadn't changed, but he couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked completely pitiful compared to his normal energetic self.
しかしひでえ雨だな。ゲストハウスに戻るのも嫌になるぜ。夏日姉さんが屋敷で泊まれるよう準備してくれたらしい。どうする
？3階になった時に考えてもいいんじゃない？部屋に戻る体力もなくなってたら、その時はお世話になりましょうよ。
そうだな。その時に考えりゃいいか。バトラーはどうする？
俺がいちゃお邪魔だろうからよ。気使って向こうに戻るぜ。
そうか。すぐ戻るのか。
さあな。一人で戻ったって寂しいしよ。子供全員で揃って帰ることにするぜ。
そうだな。そうするといい。それでバトラー、お前今夜はそうは簡単には寝ないだろう。
多分いとこたちとおしゃべりしてるだろうからな。夜更かししそうな気配はあるぜ。それがどうかしたのかよ。
そうか。もし大人たちの会議が終わってお前がまだ起きてたら、ちょいと家族でしたい話があるんだ。
なんだよ。柄にもねえな。
Apparently, Kyoto-san was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked him in a small voice. Looked like Kyoto-san didn't have a clue what Dad was talking about either.
キリエにも聞いてもらいたい話だ。後で話すから、今は聞くな。頼む。
I don't think there's anyone who ignores their family as much as this old bastard, and this was the guy that was asking us to all have a talk as a family. Both Kyoto-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed. You ready for this?
そう、ビビった顔すんなよ。ビビりてえのは俺の方なんだ。何しろ。
At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant. I don't remember Dad being the kind of person to artificially draw out suspense.
気持ち悪いぜ、親父。今、家族は全員揃ってるじゃねえかよ。もったいぶらずに言えよ。
Shit.
俺は多分、今夜殺されるだろうな。
Oh!
There was a huge crash of thunder. It must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself and which always wore a taunting expression, was, for some reason that I couldn't explain, strangely frail.
Yo, this is...
It was so worn out that he looked like a different person.
は何言ってんだよ、柄でもね。
同感よ。どうしたの？急に弱気ね。あなたらしくもない。
He is not joking.
俺も化粧直しに行ってくる。ついてくんなよ。
Dad turned away weakly. After that, only Kyoto-san and I were left, still wide-eyed.
なんだってんだ？今夜殺される？まさか。あの妙な手紙のせいで、親父ビビっちまったのか？連続殺人者の映画の見過ぎだぜ。
Kyoto-san didn't answer my lighthearted words and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back.
バトラ君はルドルフさんに今話せと言ったら 話さず立ち去った。みんなに話すことがあると言い出しながら答えなかった。どうして？チェス盤をひっくり返す。すると、
話すと言っておきながら話せない矛盾。なんすかね。親父側から見ると何か見えてきますか？
ええ、見えるわよ。話したいことがある。でも自分から言い出す勇気がない。だから追ってきて俺に話しかけて聞き出してくれが正解ね。ついてくるなも逆の意味よ。ついてきて俺を問い詰めてくれ。まったく甘えん坊さんなんだから。
そういう推理でいいんすか？そんなめちゃくちゃ
名探偵や名刑事が男女の気持ちや心を推理できる？できないでしょ。異性の気持ちを探るのは何次元のトリックを暴くよりはるかに高度な技術なのよ。私に言わせれば名作推理小説より恋愛小説の方がよっぽど難解なミステリーなんだから。
はあ、そういうもんすかね。
私はあの甘えん坊さんと一緒にいるわ。普段は虚勢を張ってるけど今夜はかなりの激論で疲れ切ってる。誰かに寄りかかりたい気持ちなんでしょうね。それに応えるのがパートナーの役目よ。
はあ、そりゃお熱いことで。じゃあうちのクソ親父の世話をよろし。
ええ、任せておいて。
I was curious on the party I called out to her.
え、何？
いや、ありがとよって。おかげで陰鬱な気分がだいぶ晴れたぜ。
ならよかった。コミュニケーションは大事ね。
After answering with a wink, Kiryu-san followed after Dad.
I feel like they both should have gone.
Natsui could be found in the dimly lit hallway. Now and then the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on Natsui's expression. Her expression was completely worn out.
As usual.
The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsui's mind. Beatrice had proclaimed that, in addition to the gold, the headship and all the assets of the Ushiromi family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. Have we heard this song before?
I think we have. Sounds familiar.
In other words, she had planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Kraus, as her oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no choice to succeed the head. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable, and it was obvious they would accept Beatrice's proposal. Even without playing clumsy detective games, she also knew that this so-called 19th person Beatrice couldn't exist. This was a message employing a fictional character called Beatrice as a messenger. It may as well have been written in Kinzo's own handwriting. And this was proof that Kinzo remained stubbornly neutral as to that letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring these reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore, that he'd given up the head's ring. And in short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter had its own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Mario the letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait would be prepared, and someone, probably Shanna, would be made to deliver it, and wear it and deliver the letter in the umbrella. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, this is why you could be certain that Kinzo was behind all of this. In that case, it was just as if Kinzo had butted in on the siblings' private discussion. And by announcing that he would give everything to the person who could solve the riddle, Kinzo had weakened Kraus's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had listened on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day. So he had known how Kraus had staved off the attack by the other three, and to make the scales of the battle go back into the balance, he had sent out the strange letter which benefited the other three. Ava and Radolf had dragged Roseanne, who had a weak position among the siblings because of her age, and they were trying once again to overwhelm Kraus's 3-on-1 push through their crazy reasoning. And so they resumed what had once been a nearly decided conflict and were repeatedly pressing Kraus to pay them a large amount of money. Talk about the advance payment, which had been denied once already, was being brought up again under the terms that all of the siblings would guarantee Kraus's succession to the family head. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, Ushiromi's family's store of wealth was vast. Just that store was more than enough to by itself. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever along with Kinzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Therefore, even if they had no interest in the gold itself, there would be the lifelong fear that on the off chance that someone found the gold, that person would be guaranteed the position of family head. And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor to the head, Kraus. The other siblings had found, no, they had been told by Kenzo about something that only Kraus could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsui is Kraus' only ally in his painful position, and as his wife had believed, she was fighting alongside him. She kept trying to point out to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce and that there was no need for him to compromise. Kraus had always told Natsui. He had told all of the siblings. He had always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than fiction created by Kenzo. Therefore, Natsui believed that his wife on the foundation had supported her husband. What do you think? Does the gold exist, or is it a farce?
I honestly, I don't know. I
You don't know?
I can't say. I think it would make sense for it to be both equally, and I don't have a way to disprove
That's
one
fair.
or
That's fair.
prove the other.
Devil's proof.
Yeah.
Yet her words would not reach him. Even though she was fighting so hard and letting all her strength, she continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other three siblings, wondering why she could not be of use to him. Natsui felt sorrow, shame, and then anger. It happened when everyone decided to take short breaks to cool their heads. Natsui had flared up against Kraus, enraged she had asked why she could not be useful to him. He had told her that he wanted to talk about something and invited her into one of his private rooms, which she was normally not allowed to enter. That room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock, and just looking into it had given her an uncomfortable feeling.
他の3人の言うこともベアトリーチェを名乗る不審人物の言うことも何も気にかけることはありません。黄金など所詮はお父様が生み出したまやかし。それを見つけられることなどあるわけがない。あなたが跡継ぎであることは盤石です。何を恐れることがあるのです。
Kraus removed the padlock on the door. He then motioned for Natsui to enter.
入りたまえ。
何ですか？
見せたいものがある。君に初めて見せるものだ。
Okay. Is it gonna be the gold?
Natsui timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. It was pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Kraus entered behind her, pushing her in and closed the door before making any attempt to turn on the lights. The two were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Kraus locking the door rang out through the dark.
これは何事ですか？明かりは？
今つける。待ちたまえ。
True to his word, Kraus pushed the switch on the wall and a flickering light turned on and lit up the room.
それは。
Natsui had her breath taken away.
It's the gold.
The room had no windows, and at a glance it appeared to be empty. In the middle of the room, a small round table had been set, and the lights only brightened that table as if it were the leading part in a play. Laid out on top of the table was a red tablecloth of elaborate design covered with dust, and on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That something took Natsui's breath away.
凄まじい純度を持つ黄金のインゴットだよ。
It's so pure, it even has the purity written on it.
こいつがなければ
My God.
誰も黄金伝説を信じはしなかった。
It was an ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified gold glint.
こいつはまともなインゴットじゃない。このインゴットを鋳造したのが国内なのか国外なのか。
It takes a high level of skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots. And in order to verify that purity, it is standard to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it imprinted on the gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry.
ここを見たまえ。折り得ることはない。こいつはただの金塊だ。
It also has the insignia on it.
Yeah, Natsui, following Kraus's words, timidly approached the ingot.
そこだ。
Kraus pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsui concentrated on that section. Right there was the thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. Natsui's breath was taken away once again. That's
こ
right.
れこそが
This is the
親父
legendary
がベアト
ingot
リー
that
チェに
Dad
与えら
had
れたと
said he
い
had
い
received from the witch
保証人の
that
マ
the
ルソ
president
の
of
会長に
Maruso
任意で
witnessed
一
and
つ
was
を
allowed
抜
to
き取ら
select
せ
at
て
random to
使
take
え
back
ら
with
せ
him.
財界のフィクサーたちを信用
That
させ
gained
た
the trust of the fixers in the business
方
world.
々に手を尽くして私を見つけた
Why am I reading this? Kraus is reading this.
他の兄弟たちより早くね。
そう。
I didn't even realize.
じゃあお父様の黄金伝説は？
実在する。 後ろ宮金蔵が授けられたベアトリーチェの黄金は。
そんな本当にあるなんて。
Her mind is blown.
Natsu was shocked. Krauss had always said that Kinzo's goat was just a fabrication, so he should believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. He had held definite proof and had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of gold was true. Because of this, Krauss was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold that he had failed to find, costing everything. But to Natsu, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought, as Krauss's wife, that she should be as close as confident, which is why she had been selflessly supporting him. And yet he had hidden this fact from her until today. Why?
そこまでに私はあなたの信頼に足りないというのですか。
そういうつもりはない。話す必要がなかっただけだ。
あなたにとっては妻はその程度のものなのですか。
落ち着きたまえ。劇場にすぐ駆られるのは君の悪い癖だ。
あなたがそうさせてるんじゃないですか。私は後ろ宮家に嫁ぎ、今日まであなたの妻として仕えてきました。あなたのために生まれた家を捨て、身も心も捧げてお仕えしてきました。その報いがこれなんですか。そんなこと。
Krauss grimaced, looking annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsu.
私はもうあなたの力になりそうもあります。
それでいい。兄弟のトラブルを私が自分の力で解決。君の力を借りる。
違います。これは後ろ宮家のトラブルです。確かに私にはこの身に家紋を刻むことが許されていません。でもあなたの妻です。あなた。
君を思えばこそあえて関わらせなかったのだ。これ以上は頭痛に障るだろう。君は今夜はこれで休みたまえ。兄弟の話は兄弟でつける。君は関係ない。それだけだ。
I can understand what he's doing, but he's going about it the wrong way.
He is, definitely. A dull headache tormented Natsui. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what scents she burned, it would not heal. On the other hand, by standing here alone in a dimly lit corridor, her head filled with the sound of rain, she felt like the pain had softened a little. I may have been Natsui, but I was not Yoshiromi or Natsu. Denigrated as a sorry excuse for a wife, or used for not even being able to take care of that. Even so, I tried properly to perform the duties of a wife, but have been rejected even by my husband. I did my best raising my daughter as though it was the last job left to me. However, my incursion sadness, having no place to go, caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too. Because I have been excessively strict in Jessica's education, I am thoroughly disliked by her. Jessica despises me for not being interested in anything but grades. There is no longer anything I can do for the Yoshiromi family. Ever heard this song before? I don't know.
I think this one is a new one.
I like this song.
Yeah. I like
No.
the strings.
That's no good. Even so, I must help my husband dislodge the schemes of the other greedy siblings. The head won't be around for much longer. Eventually, Krauss will succeed the head. And then the next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes down to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor who everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Yoshiromi family. In the years to come, the greedy Yoshiromi Eva will surely be continually plotting to find some fault with the main family. So if that all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession with George in her place. It is regrettable, but George is a man and even more has matured as a person. And if you compare him to Jessica, who is right in the middle of her rebellious period and whose grades are below average, you can see at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her as an excellent husband, worthy of the excellent person she will become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and stay with her throughout all life's joys and sorrows. Was that Natsumi trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own. Natsumi thought back to the days when she had no choice but to marry into the Uchirame family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgot that and had actively attended to the life she had been given as Uchirame and Natsui. And this was the new life she had built. But it felt like, just now, all of that had been casually rejected. Natsui helplessly rested her hand against the glass of the window. The glass, pulled by the raindrops moving against it, was somehow refreshing, and even though it had no emotions, right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsui.
Oh.
Even if someone showed up there and saw her like this, Natsui had no intention of caring in the least. But she found herself caring, because it was her beloved daughter.
Poor Natsuki.
母さんか。なんだよ、こんなところに。幽霊かと思ったぜ。
Just like always, her words were rough and not at all like a girl's. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose to Natsuki's throat. However, they did so only weakly, and so she was able to prevent them from escaping her lips.
Jessica, ごめんね。母さんは頭痛がひどいの。そっとしといてくれる。
そう。
Jessica was more than slightly disconcerted by this very first ever sight of feebleness from her mother, until just now she had been filled with contempt for all of the parents, including... Including... How do I get to this log? I know there's a button on this controller I can press. This? Or is it this? Ah, here we go.
Is it start?
Yeah. Including her mother. Contempt for all of her parents, including her mother.
Gotcha.
But now, not the slightest bit of that feeling remained. All of it had been wiped out by her mother's completely exhausted face. In its place, the words that George had told her floated up back in her mind. The parents were doing their best in their own way. They were supporting their family so they can't afford to keep everything pleasant and have a heavy responsibility to fight. Couldn't her mother have been standing around in this dimly lit hallway because no one had tried to understand that? Jessica didn't like her mother, so she had no instinct to give her mother words of kindness just because she looked a little frail. Therefore, in order to give those words regardless, she had to clench both her fists and wrench the words out from the depths of her heart.
ずいぶん立て込んだ話をしてるようじゃん。
お前には関係あります。よそへ行っていなさい。
頭痛ひどい？
Come on.
私、薬もらってこようか。
構わないで結構です。お願いだから、一人きりにして。
Natsumi was not being cold to her. She just wanted to get her daughter away from her so she could avoid subjecting her to a short temper. But there was no chance that her intentions would reach Jessica. Jessica hung her head, looking sad. Looking at that expression, Natsuki realized that Jessica was trying to muster up the strength to be kind to her mother. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her unkind feelings.
じゃあ私、行くよ。大人の邪魔にならないように、いとこたちと一緒にいるから。じゃあ。
お待ちなさい。
She called Jessica, about to make her desolate exit to a stop.
気遣いをありがとう。お前を残して寝込むわけにはいきません。
よせよ。縁起でもないぜ。
心配をかけました。もう大丈夫です。私は行きます。
Staying here any longer with such a feeble expression would actually make her daughter feel more uncomfortable. Thinking this, Natsuki left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. This time it was Jessica who called out to her mother's back. Natsuki stopped, turned around, and asked what she wanted. But Jessica herself didn't know why she had stopped her mother, and for a while she muttered herself with a slightly forced smile as she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around in her pocket when her hand touched something and she took it out.
Charm.
あのさ、母さん。私さ、今日、お守りもらったんだよ。なんだっけな。魔除けだったっけ？確かその、ドアノブにぶら下げてるといいんだっけ？忘れちまったぜ。私が持ってても仕方ないし、母さんにあげるよ。
It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her by the beach that day. Although she had heard of its various effects from Maria, right now Jessica's mind was blank and it was all she could do to say even that much. Thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept the charm anyway, Jessica had immediately drawn back the hand, offering it to her. So when Natsuki came back and took the hold of the hand, she was extremely surprised.
これは
まあ私も多分そうだろうと思ってるけど、こんなおもちゃみたいなお守りじゃご利益は期待できねえよな。
But her mother took the scorpion charm from her
あ
grip.
りがとう。大切にします。ジェシカには今度私が子供の頃大切にしていたお守りを。
別にそんなつもりで渡すんじゃないぜ。でもまあどうしてもって言うなら。
では私はもう休みます。頭痛がひどいのでジェシカもあまり夜更かしをしすぎないように。
Nazuri put the charm in her pocket and turned away. She then disappeared into the dark hall.
Aww. Little mother-daughter bonding.
Oh yeah,
Learning how to be real fucking human beings for once.
pretty much.
やっぱり明日も丸一日こんな天気みたいだね。